look like this.
Man, what you want to make your hair look like that for?
Will you let the man tee you off? You yap worse than 6 barbers.
Welcome back to another episode of the Your Barber podcast. I'm your host, Matt Ballad, a.k.a. Matty Blades. This is episode number 50. Hit the milestone 50. But this is our second edition of the Betting Barber series. And we've had my guy on, John Gould. Let's go ahead and bring him back on.
What's up, man?
Week 2 of the playoffs, the NFL playoffs. How's it going? We're back on a Monday night.
Yep.
Giving these guys some credit that do this professionally. They got to turn the thing around, get all the info they can. I'm sure they got kids running around too, screaming at them, trying to get a gist of what just happened over the weekend.
Barber's day off.
All right. Did you work today though?
No. Sunday, Monday, pretty gotcha. Outside of holidays, always off pretty much.
That's good, man. Got to take some time off here. You got to take some time off.
Yeah.
So let's hop right into it, man. A little wild card recap. We still have a game to play right now. Minnesota and LA Rams are about to kick off right now as we speak, I believe. And but yeah, man, I'm thinking what was your record in our picks?
So I want to say as of now I'm 3-2. I'm pretty sure 3-2. So yeah. if the Rams win tonight, I could be 4-2.
Because we had how many games do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games play. All right, you're 3-2. I think I'm 1-4 out of.
If I'm remembering right, I went 0-2 the first day, picked the Chargers and Steelers spread. Yeah. And then yesterday had the Bills and the Eagles both. Wait. Bills,
what was the night game?
Eagles, and the Redskins. I ended up going with the Redskins. That was the one where we left off, and I had to make my pick, and I went with one last special one from Jaden Daniels, which, man, that kid is
done, man. Steady Eddie over there.
He's a winner.
So let's go ahead and dive into our game, we'll call it. The Broncos-Bills matchup. Right out of the gate, man, they did what I said they were going to do. They took a shot downfield, off to the races. That was the first deep bomb that Bo Nix and Troy Franklin have connected on. He's been wide open all year. They've schemed it open. They've attempted that play all year long, and it's either been a drop, a PI, an underthrow, an overthrow. Like, he didn't see him. Something didn't go right every single time they tried to connect. And it finally happened. I was like, here we go. We're off to the races. And then it's like, we never got the ball back after that.
That's Sean Payton in a nutshell, though, right? Like you said, like all year long, you're just off with it. And what does he do? He goes right to it. Same thing with that fake punt. Like, just
right.
Those
are crucial moments, man. Like,
yep.
That fake punt came at a time. What was it? Was it still 7-3 maybe, or was it?
Man,
you may have been up 10-7, something like that. Maybe.
All I can remember is getting a text from you after, like all that just. What, did you guys get a field goal or did you punt it back? I think
we fucking, right? We do what we always do. On the 50-yard line, we throw a screen pass for a 3-yard loss, and then there goes that down and distance there. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, I think I heard someone say they ran a fake punt to end up just doing a real one. Yeah. They did a real punt after that. But
one thing I'll say is, as a Bills fan who watches this team week in and week out, that stuck out to me is I almost wore his jersey tonight, Matt Milano. I'm about as big of a Milano fan as there is out there. And I had kind of just come to terms with the fact that he was I don't want to call him a has-been, but he just wasn't going to get to that elite level that he had been at for so long. And man, that kid, he gave us a dimension of speed that we had not had in that second layer of the defense there, which going into this matchup against the Ravens, if he could duplicate that, that will help us out a lot. So
No doubt, dude.
he was flying out there.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, James Cook was just slicing and dicing us all day.
That's been there all year, yeah.
It was the biggest discrepancy all round of time of possession. It's 41 minutes to 19 minutes. It's like 41:30 to 18:30. That's like somehow, some way the Steelers Ravens game was kind of close. It was like 39 minutes that the Ravens had of possession. But
yeah, it
I mean,
was, but it wasn't. Yeah.
I remember looking up at the clock. It was like 7 minutes in the second quarter. I'm like, we've had the ball twice. I'm like, fuck.
It truthfully, like I said, I mean, it was almost like a sense of guilt with me going, even though they are my team, like going there the week before with my pick, just because, like, in my mind, I knew, everyone's talking it up. Denver's defense is tough, their defense, and all week long at the shop, like when it's no holds bar, when I'm not talking to a Broncos fan, I'm like, dude,
Right.
our offense is going to score on any defense. That's never
Yeah.
the concern. One, two, our defense trumps their offense. So it's like it went how I figured it would.
Yeah.
But
Our
I
offense
mean,
didn't do our defense any favors, that's for
no,
sure. I mean, we went
no,
3 and out quick, and then we didn't see the ball till like the end of the second quarter, and we just couldn't mount enough. It's like when the time of possession's kind of going like that, everyone's like, "Oh, they got away from the run, or they got away from the." It's like whatever your script is, whatever's going on, you kind of got to throw it out. Like
yeah.
things change when the time of possession is that lopsided.
Well, and
And
it's playoffs, right? I mean,
Denver's defense, it's weird. Like, I feel like that's one of those things that like talking heads just say when they have no fucking clue because they haven't watched a single Broncos game all year. Let's keep it a buck. They haven't watched a
sure,
game. So they're
sure.
just like, oh, defense. That's what I hear people say. So I'm just going to keep regurgitating it. Well, like we went over on the pod last episode, like the defense been getting gashed the last month. They've been
Sure.
like dead last. And so, like, that stretch of games with like the Chargers, the Bengals, we won't count the last Chiefs game, but they were having a rough time, kind of getting it together. And the run game was kind of getting rolling against them. We had injuries in secondary, but yeah, the defense had me a little sketched out for sure. We did a decent job of bracketing Allen,
Sure.
but he I mean he
Couple.
does a great job. I'll tell you what, like maybe like 3 years ago, like he wasn't this patient.
No.
Like they made a good example of Romo during the game where he would have threw a ball like if this was a few years back, but he like looked it off and he kind of stayed in there. And it would have been like an interception before, but yeah, he's grown a lot. He's patient. It seems like they've talked about his personal life a lot. Like he got married and he's having a kid. Like he's cleaned up
I
his
don't
act
know
a
if
little bit off the field.
I don't know if it's like is on Front Street on a national stage as it is locally. Because, like, again, I'm right outside of Buffalo. It's the hometown team. But I mean, like, I don't know if I've ever known that much information about our starting quarterback's personal life until he's come into town. But I get
Yeah,
there might be something to that though, because he
he's a
does.
superstar, man. That's what
Yeah,
happens. They open it up. They open it all up.
that's true. We haven't had one of those since Jim Kelly, so I guess that's the other portion of it.
Yeah. I mean, Denver was in positions in this game where it just seemed like, it's okay. We can finally get off the field here. Let's finally Jesus, there's a penalty or like that's what happens
Hey,
when you just like your offense doesn't do enough
and
to
all
help out
bias
your
aside,
defense.
too. You,
What's that?
I said all bias aside, the defenseless receiver call with the hit on Ray Davis, like nothing else. I forget the Denver player in the secondary who got called.
I'm I think who it was. It may have been
When
Brandon Jones or PJ Locke, one of our safeties.
nothing else he could do. You drop your shoulder, you're preparing to hit the proper way, and then the receiver adjusts his body midair. That
Yeah.
call was huge. And then like I said too, when you texted me about the toe touching the end line on the crazy 4th down play, which if Josh
That
doesn't
was
bail
4th
them
down.
out there,
We get the ball back. There's no score. There's
that
still a
was
chance.
it's got to be irrefutable.
It tapped.
It's got to be irrefutable. So
Right.
but
That was the whole problem. The play
Yeah.
on the field was a touchdown. It was going to take a lot, but so here's where everyone's talking about. Like, he had possession here before. I'm like, the ball's on the ground. There's not like pure possession.
And like I said, all bias aside, that's iffy. Like and I'll admit it. I mean,
Right there, the
But-
toe touches.
yeah.
Right here, it comes up. Right here, it's touching. So that I thought, I don't know, I thought that was like pretty clear when I was watching it, but I had a bad feeling when like Romo and Nance were like refusing to mention it. Like it would like pop up on the screen and the toe would tap and they'd be like, well, it looks like he got it. And I was like, wait, no, they're actually going to make this stand. Holy shit.
In a different scenario, in a different game, that if that is incomplete, what the hell is that play call in that scenario there? Well, 4th and 1,
Yeah.
right? With Josh Allen. And
Yeah.
that's what he's
That
another
play was
example.
Just backyard, just make it happen, and it is what it is. I mean, he's done that a lot in his career, but
Sure, backyard make it happen with a yard to go with Josh Allen is a little different than a 50-yard. You know what I mean? I don't know. That was crazy, but
yeah,
it
he
could have
had
went
to
either
run
way.
around a little bit to make that happen. But the same thing is, I mean, we weren't, like I said, we really didn't blitz him too much because he would have ate us even faster alive if that was the case. So we did a good job of bracketing him, but I mean, he was just standing there like, all right, no one's rushing me. Let me fucking let me wait. And yeah, we couldn't really get after him.
Now,
Denver's got a lot of things they got to address in the offseason.
sure, young team, but in the right direction. But
Yeah.
now, if we're getting back to the basis of all this, the betting aspect of things, I think rule of thumb that was laid out after that game is if you have a team that's a clear-cut favorite that you're feeling good about, don't tease the points up for the opposition. Tease it down to Buffalo to make it safe in that scenario.
Or
So
do
maybe
what you did, which was wait till they go down early and bet them live and get
True.
a phenomenal number.
what I had them. I sent you that. I had them when we were
5?
down. What 10-3 were we down at the time?
It may have just been 7-0 or
7-0 or 7-3. Did we get a
we
field
never
goal?
scored after 7, dude. You scored 31 unanswered after that.
We settled
had
for
to be
I think we
7-0.
settled for a field goal before.
Oh
we
yeah,
scored.
that's what it may have been
So it was
7-3.
7-3. I caught us live at -5.5, and it was only I forget. It wasn't the line wasn't too crazy, and I just unloaded on that. So that's
Yeah,
basically like getting a free teaser right there with only one team.
It's
So
a
maybe
wise
we do
play.
some live action this week instead too.
I have a friend, that's all he does. He just waits for a favorite
I
to
do
go
too.
down, and that's literally he does that week in, week out, especially for like big games. Me, I stay away from the big games. I don't like betting these marquee matchups. There's
It's hard.
too much action. It's too hot. I'd rather go somewhere where no one's looking. But that's just me. But I mean,
not for nothing. When you are hopping on these sites and betting live, on top of that, it's like your queue in the corner switches every 2 seconds. So you got to be on rapid fire just to lock the line that you want in. Because they complete a 5-yard pass, they're changing the odds in the live spread like instantly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It became even harder too when like live TV became a thing of the past. Like I'm watching it on YouTube TV. There's even a bigger, delay in between plays. So, half of the time you make a bet and then the very next play is a pick six. You're like, no, there's something like that happens.
Yep.
But you wonder why it jumped so much and you're like, oh God, should I bet this? Like you're like, let me pull the hand back. Let me watch one more play. But yeah, it was a a game until about late in the third quarter. Then that's all she wrote. All credit due to the Bills and Josh Allen doing a great job. So let's go ahead and finish the recap before we move on to the next round. But let's hop into this. Let's hop into the night game last night. The good game, as everyone said. That was another thing that was annoying me before we came on. I said that it was like, oh, thank God for this Washington game, or else every other game was a blowout. And I'm like, there were games, around the third quarter still, but I mean, God, it's just like, is every game supposed to be like a triple OT thriller or something? Like,
right.
Like, okay, like there's less games to talk about, so if they're duds, then it's people really don't like that, I guess. So it's hard for these talking heads to earn their pay there. But so let's dive into Washington and
Tampa.
Tampa, yeah, Washington and Tampa.
Yeah.
So we had a little crossfire here. I was on Tampa, minus the points. I think it was 3, and you were on Washington, the team who'd been getting a lot of points early in the season, and they all of a sudden became a favorite. So you saw them down here as an underdog. You bet. And this game was another one with time of possession.
Sure.
Tampa really didn't have the ball too much. Daniels, man, I mean, he just like there's something about him that doesn't like Caleb sometimes can like really wow me with what he does, but it always comes when the stakes are low in like garbage time or something. Daniels is just like steady as she goes. Like, I mean, his demeanor is so calm. We're talking about Bo Nix being not affected by the environment. I mean, this is another guy, Jaden Daniels, just never very reactive. And he took some licks Sunday night too. Like his body held up throughout the whole year.
That's the one thing I worry about with him, though, is like, how many times have we seen that happen on the short term, but then with the long term, it's like that body type at that position in the NFL, he's going to have to shore that up a little, or else he's going to cut his time short. But
100%. But I mean,
rookie year,
they're not really throwing the ball down the field either. Like, if you watch their games, they're kind of dinking, dumping, taking what's there.
To their credit, I mean, they don't have many options. They were already decimated. Then you saw Noah Brown getting in there mid-year. Then he's out. So
I was about to ask you, what's that guy's name? He played pretty well. He's pretty tough.
Till he was knocked out of the lineup, and then it's like Terry, and that's it.
Well, he played. I think Brown played.
Did Noah Brown play?
Yeah. What number is he? Like 5?
Let me
see here. Diami Brown.
Okay, yeah.
Different Brown. I was like, there's a Brown that played, I thought. That was it. I mean, Eckler, Robinson, Ertz.
89 yards and a touchdown ties Terry, too. So, yeah.
Yeah. He stepped up. 5 targets, 5 catches.
Yeah, Diami Brown and Terry McLaurin. I mean, and Zach Ertz, who's been in the league for what seems like 20 years now.
38 years old.
But yeah, so that's all credit to OC there. What's his name? Johnny Manziel's coordinator.
Oh, Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, he's creative, man. And
I wonder if he gets a job as a coach.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or does he get the McDaniels treatment where now he kind of hangs around as an OC after
it
was so volatile in Arizona before?
Yeah.
Were you in Arizona at that time?
Yeah. I was maybe the first year he was coach, and then I think that was my last year there, because I was there for the Rosen when they drafted Rosen, then that didn't work.
He's creative, man. I mean, with what they're working with, he's creative.
They didn't punt the whole game. I guess I heard some crazy stat that there's been no other quarterback that they haven't punted in 3 games, and they won 3 games in a row. It's just 3 games. That's all. And I was like, well, they are going for it on like every 4th down. I think they went for it 5 times on Sunday, they said.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean,
Which going into the next round, expect much of the same because they're going to go in there with nothing to lose. I mean, they know it. Like
yeah,
they gained confidence with winning this game, so it's all bets are off against Detroit.
no doubt. Yeah, I mean, their offense, they just seem to like take what's there. They have short, distance to go on 3rd or 4th down. So I mean, that's why they go for it. It makes sense, especially when they're across the 50. But yeah, man, I mean, they grind the clock down, they get first downs, they put Josh, or we're talking about McDaniels. They put
Jaden.
Daniels out there to make a play here and there. And yeah, man, he's getting it done calmly. And when he takes a pop too, I mean, he gets right back up. It just seems
Yeah, he's
unfazed.
tough.
He's definitely tough. He had the rib thing going on, earlier in the year, but I mean, he fought through that. And yeah, I mean, he looks like the rookie of the year for sure.
Opposite side of the ball, Dan Quinn, like his toughness is just his fingerprint with his toughness is all over that defense, and what they got right in the middle with Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, that's a fierce duo right there too.
Yeah. Wagner's
Fierce
still
duo.
very solid for his age too. I
He's
mean,
playing like he's 25 years old this year.
no doubt he's
So
flying around. Yeah,
him and
Tampa,
that
dude. I
kid.
mean, this matchup, Tampa's got a lot more of the household names
Hmm.
for sure. Washington does have 2 really good running backs. Like I've always loved those 2 backs.
Sure.
I thought Eckler never got enough credit when he was in LA because of course Herbert took all the shine. But yeah, I mean I like Brian Robinson too. So yeah, I
Which
mean they have a good couple running backs. I'm not really set on their O line.
no.
They got a receiver too. I don't understand why they traded away what's his name before the season started. He was like their number 2.
Oh, Jahan Dotson.
Dotson, yeah. Where
Uh
did he go?
he went to Philly and
Philly, I
he
thought,
did
right?
absolutely nothing until you saw him catch a touchdown yesterday in the playoffs out of nowhere. But I
Oh
mean,
man,
that's
I
how
missed that
confident
too.
they were in him being just inept that they traded him within the division. But which
Right.
you could hear the bitterness in my voice because I had him a couple of years in a row in fantasy, being a Penn State fan, and it didn't really work out. But yeah,
That sucks.
they'll draft someone this year. But I
Yeah.
think the thing that I was thinking about that game too is it would have been cool to see Baker get the ball back in his hands for the last possession,
Yeah.
but
What
to
killed him
watch
was
him,
that fumble where they faked
yeah,
the sweep. They faked the receiver sweep and fumbled in their own territory. That's what killed him. I mean,
yep,
Baker, I mean, he's always got like it seems like one of those in him. But
oh yeah,
yeah, man, I mean him and Mike Evans were on fire in that game, and Bucky Irvin had it rolling a little bit. But yeah, they couldn't get back on the field, and they, turned it over quick when it mattered the most. So yeah, that was a good game. That one came down to the field goal at the end. Oh yeah, they doinked it in too.
yeah,
They
man,
nipped the upright and went in. So that was another
yep,
thing. The Denver game, they fucking doinked the upright 50-yarder right before the game. It was like the loudest noise I've ever. It's still like rattling my chest.
yeah.
Oh, no good!
So let's move on to this Houston LA
Oh,
Chargers game, man. God,
what a
that was
way to
my
kick the
best bet.
weekend off.
Yeah, that was a tough game to start with.
And I mean, I was with you. I was outside of like Buffalo. I was very confident in them. I would say it was like Buffalo and them and Philly in terms of like
Yeah,
list of confidence. Just it that seemed like a sucker bet, and it was a sucker bet. But
everyone was on the Chargers there, dude.
to our credit, when we did the pod, it was at the beginning of the week before all the money started pouring in. So again, like
Yeah,
back to the basis of this whole thing, don't lock your bets in until you see the action that comes in.
yeah,
Unless you feel as if you're one of those sharps where you want to lock in before it gets skewed the other way, but you run that risk because, man, all the sharp money came in on Houston by the weekend.
We
So
saw it in a few games. The Denver game, it got down to 7.5, I think.
yeah,
The Steelers game got bet down, right?
yep.
And
And
then,
then
I mean,
you
there was a
like,
bunch of movement right before kickoff on a lot of these games. I
and
do
like
tend to
we
be one of those guys though that take it earlier in the week.
sure,
Um, I'd say more than not, it's helped me over the long haul.
yeah,
But there are some where I'm like, oh God, I'm on the wrong side of the move here. You can't always be on the right side of the move.
yeah.
You'd
And
like
in
to be
that case, a road favorite in a playoff game, right? I mean,
yeah.
that that Houston defensive line just got after Herbert. I mean, eh, whatever opinion anyone has on him aside, which, like I told you, I got to eat some crow on him because I'm typically a Herbert. I don't want to call myself a Herbert protector, but I think he's a good quarterback. And like we said last week, he's for some reason he's like the most controversial conversational piece in the barbershop. But they to his in his defense, he had no time to breathe that whole game. And we're not talking about Josh Allen throwing on the run off his back foot. That's not him. Like you rattle him and you get him outside that pocket. You what did he have? 4 picks? They sacked him 4 times and intercepted him 4 times. They said like that's the first time that's happened in the playoffs since maybe like 2015 Green Bay team did it or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Insane.
in the situation, they're down. He's slinging it around, trying to come
True.
back. It's that can happen, but I mean, yeah, it's just. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm just tired of like giving this kid breaks. Like, I haven't been one to give him a lot of breaks, so
Yeah.
I'll start with that. But I mean, it's just like, here we go, dude. I fucking knew it. I was around early. Remember, I was like, I'm going to put myself in a position where I'm going to get let down when they play the Chargers next week. And he let me down too early. But I mean, especially in that division, the Chargers and the Broncos, we're looking at their worst teams they have right now over the next 3 to 5 years. So,
Yeah, sure.
first year in the Harbaugh, system, they're bound to get better. Herbert's got all the talent in the world for sure. You ask, about 25 teams, I'd probably say, yeah, I would take him a quarterback. But like, yeah, man, it's just something there that it's gonna start becoming a mental thing for him if they can't get something to go here in the postseason
Yeah.
without coming with all these excuses. Like, and people are like,
It's
I'm not
true.
making excuses, and then they making another excuse for him.
Yeah, I was guilty of it just there. I was. I
Right. No, I
mean,
mean
yeah,
it's everywhere. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to see a very talented player just like not, you know what I mean? Kind of like a Dan Marino type or like a Tony Romo, just never really did much.
and not to waste all of that segment on the team that lost. I mean,
Right.
to Houston's credit, like CJ Stroud in comparison to Jaden Daniels, I mean, he's only in year 2. My youngest brother is actually a Houston Texans fan. Um, so I'm up on them a decent amount because whenever the Bills have a prime time game, we're throwing them on whatever else. And when it's just us, I'm messing with him, and I think he kind of thinks I have this thing against them, even though I'm just razzing him and giving it to him. But
I'll break it a little bit.
yeah, watching CJ Stroud for 2 years in a row, same thing as Daniels, poised. I mean, you would swear that he's been a starting quarterback in that league for a decade now. And when the lights were the brightest this year, he shined the most too after struggling. Not that the struggles were all on him, but after the team and the offense has struggled time to time here. I mean, they look good, man, and he made some big plays when it mattered too.
Yeah, Stroud's. I mean, he's stepped right up, man. I mean, the deep. I mean, I remember I loved this team in the offseason. I was kind of like, Jesus
Sure.
Christ, who else are they gonna add? They added this guy. Jeez, Daniil Hunter. Okay, Joe Mixon. Jesus Christ.
And then we
Stephon
got to a
Diggs.
point where it was like, who else are they going to lose, right? And maybe that's
Yeah.
why they started to decline to
Yeah.
a
I
point.
mean, this defense, I gotta say, I like the matchup against Kansas City this next game. I like the matchup.
Yeah.
But yeah, just back recapping the game, like they never really looked back
And
as soon
Joe
as they got that
Mixon
lead.
too, man.
He
I
took a
mean,
hit. That one should have been a fucking helmet to helmet. Did you see
sure.
that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one. I was like, Jesus Christ.
And he
We
showed
can't
his
get
worth in that game too. I mean, that paid
yeah.
dividends right there alone in the playoffs. So they're scary when they're firing on all cylinders. I mean, Will Anderson's only in year 2, just like Stroud, and he is a monster
Yeah, he's
too.
gonna be tough. He
Man,
is tough, dude. That guy, he's gonna get a lot of more opportunities.
tall
But
task ahead of him this week, but
yeah. We so let's go over the Ravens Steelers game.
yep.
So that one was that the very first game, or that was the night game?
That was the
That was
night
the
game
night
on
game.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was snowed in. I was snowed in 2.5 inches in the Atlanta snowstorm. We got 2.5 inches, and the whole place shut down because it got a little icy.
I heard about that.
Oh.
I sent you a couple pictures of like what happened just in the time of when we
Right.
did the first episode of this, where
Right,
like
you got
eclipsed
2.5
that.
inches just in the last filming.
I'm driving home in a whiteout that night, right after.
Jesus, just unfazed. Dude, our
Yeah.
power went out for 5 hours on Friday.
Well, you guys aren't equipped to deal with it when it does come, so it's
No, that's
understandable.
what it is, I guess. But
Yeah.
I'm like, are they making power lines different? I don't understand. But so yeah, Steelers Ravens. This game was a massive disappointment. I mean, I guess we should have known better. I mean, the Steelers have just been absolutely reeling. They lost what,
Yeah.
6 in a row to end the year.
And like I said, I'll go with the same mindset as I do for the Final Four and March Madness, where a lot of times I'm going with these battle-tested coaches. And we talked about how there's no way Mike Tomlin's going to have his team go into Baltimore and get routed in a rematch here, well, in a rubber match. And I don't know. You could just see, I can't remember if it was by the second or third quarter. Their defense just looked defeated, to be honest, out there. And like the body language was terrible. And
Couldn't stop the run.
that Baltimore team will just wear you down. I mean, that is the most defeating way to lose and most demoralizing way to lose, is to just get beaten and battered out there like they will do to you offensively. So,
And they told
yeah.
you it was coming too, basically. Like
Yep.
there was no surprise that they were going to run the ball all game.
Yeah, they don't
Zay
hide it.
Flowers out, and they just. I mean, I don't know what it is with Derrick Henry. He keeps like aging like fine wine. I mean, just
Yeah, he had
looked
what,
phenomenal.
26 for 186 and 2 touchdowns, I want to say.
I think they almost ran for 300 yards as a team. It was like 299. I think they ran for as a team or something. 290.
Yeah, let me. You're right. Yeah,
Well, they run
299.
299. Isn't that nuts?
Lamar Jackson added 81 yards on top of Derrick Henry's 186. Mark Andrews snuck in there for a couple carries too.
Oh yeah, he must have had a reverse.
2.5 yards per carry. But yeah, it was that was just I don't know. The score doesn't even honestly tell the true tale of the tape there, in my opinion, but that's just me.
What do you mean? Like there was more to it, or
No, I think. I mean, you see a 28-14, you think maybe it might have been a little closer at times, but they just.
It seemed like the game with the most distance out of all.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they tried to get Justin Fields on the field a couple plays too, and it just wasn't.
That Pittsburgh team's in an interesting spot going into this offseason. I think in some regards they overachieved this year, but they're in kind of like a weird state of limbo where I don't know what the hell they're going to do at quarterback. And You got Pickens, who's making these subliminal comments where I don't know if he wants to be there, he doesn't, and
sucks because they're probably going to get rid of Tomlin, which, I mean, they're already speculating like they could trade him away, maybe. And
I didn't hear that. That's what they're saying today.
The talking heads have been talking about trades all week before the game even started.
I'll tell you. So maybe this has been brought up today on Sports Talk. We'll see. I'll tell you the first team that pops in my head right away, if it were to be a trade, I could think of one owner instantly who wants him, that's looking for a coach, and that's Jerry Jones. I don't know if anyone brought that up today, but
that could be a thing.
It'd be interesting too.
I had a thought today, just a random thought. I'm like, he'd look good down Jacksonville.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I could see him down Jacksonville. I don't want him to go to Chicago because that would ruin him. That's where everyone goes to die.
Jacksonville's a nice little spot for.
I feel like that's a decent fit, right?
Coach who's been in the league 20 years. He wants to ride off into the sunset in Florida. It's not too far south, but he's got some better weather than Pittsburgh. So
yeah, he's got a lot of weapons down there. He's got a
maybe get his own quarterback in place. They got a high pick too.
Well, I mean, I don't know because that's kind of like a contract that's going to be impossible to get out of, I guess, right?
Yeah, but you draft a quarterback for that first round max. I mean, you're not necessarily tied. You know what I mean? Then you ride Trevor Lawrence off, and he gets his own guy in there in a year or two. If he doesn't like him, he's another controversial piece in the barber shop.
I would say give Trevor one more year.
I would too.
Yeah, if he fares like the same way he did this year, then it could be it. But
he's like Herbert. People are very extreme with him on one end or the other. Like but
he sort of slid under the radar this year. I feel like that team is just like got let off the hook in a lot of ways.
Yeah, rough year.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Steelers are in a weird position though. They they got some decisions to make. I think they have plenty of money to make it with too. So
sure,
we'll see what they do.
I mean, honestly, as for that game, it did nothing except solidify what I already thought about Baltimore. They're a juggernaut in the AFC, and they're tough. That's their brand of football. I mean, when you think of the Ravens, that's as a whole, as a franchise, that's what you picture, right? They're gonna come out there and punch you in the mouth. So
yeah,
tough team.
Well, let's go ahead and transition right into the Bills matchup. And
we got one more game, right?
Or do we?
Philly, Green Bay.
Oh, Philly, Green Bay. You're right.
Yep.
Philly, Green Bay. My bad. How could I forget?
Which it did kind of go under the radar.
I was right.
It was a decent little game. Decent game. Went under the radar for a little bit.
There were some turnovers. It's like, God, let's see here. There's 4. Green Bay turned the ball over 4 times, and they were still in that game for most of it.
Yeah, that's the opposite of what we were just saying about Pittsburgh. You see 22-10, and you might think that game was a little wider than it was, but a couple plays at the end of the game, turnovers at the end there. But for me, I haven't wavered with Philly. I've been saying for a handful of weeks now, that's been like one of my top picks in the NFC for a Super Bowl contender. And this game kind of just displayed what I thought about them all along too. They're just coasting. Solid team. Both ends of the ball too. Man.
Yeah, we were going over their PFF grades last week, and
man,
it was a clear mismatch. But I mean, I'm looking at do I have this up here? Here we go. I'm looking at the turnovers here. 4 turnovers, but they still ran Green Bay. They still ran the ball 25 times for over 107 yards. So, I mean, it's like even with all those turnovers, they were still doing things they needed to do to stay in that game. And yeah, Philly still overrode them. Pretty right down the middle time of possession. But I mean, that's what happens when you turn the ball over 4 times. You know, there's that time of possession gets thrown out of the window. But yeah, dude, Philly is just dominant, dude. They're pretty dominant. Did you watch a lot of this game? Because for some reason I had this game on, but we had a guest over, and I was kind of like watching it.
We had a little of the same too.
Yeah,
Mother-in-law over, and then transitioning into football on all day in terms of like pregame Bills, and then with the kids there and whatnot.
right.
So
I almost forgot about this game was coming on that night too. I was like, oh shit, there's another game on.
watched a
I was
decent
trying to
amount.
wonder on Jalen Hurts. Look at the box score here,
He
13 for
didn't have to do
21.
much, honestly.
Yeah,
He was pretty efficient for what he had to do. I mean, I guess the his completion percentage doesn't look the greatest there, but
yeah, not terrible, but 111 passer rating. Saquon ran for 119. Jalen ran 6 times for 36, so he's still putting his body on the line a little bit. They
which we know if we need to see more of that, they'll unleash it too. But I think they do backtracking like we were talking about Kingsbury with Jaden Daniels. This Philly team does the same with Jalen Hurts. I think they play to his strengths and limitations really well,
right.
and they're well coached. And now it's like the Ravens adding Derrick Henry. Now you add this version of Saquon Barkley to this team. They're scary, man. Still got a great offensive line too.
Yeah. I wonder if this team, the only way you can really take them down is just hit them in the mouth early, because they're probably the best like front running team. Like when they have a lead, dude, this team is just unbeatable.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's a game of matchups, right? So I think certain teams do match up better than them than others in the NFC.
right.
So, but
No doubt about it, man. That game was a bit of a beatdown too, matchup wise. But so as we transition into the games, quick update: Minnesota and Los Angeles. The Rams are up 7-0. I think they
10
got the
zip,
ball back. Oh, okay, it's 10-zip. I'm a little
10 zip,
slow here.
and
Yeah,
they got the ball too.
and they got the ball back. That's scary. Well, we shall see here.
What did you ride with for that pick? I know I took the Rams there.
I kind of was mulling it back and forth all week, and I ended up taking the Vikings with I
Okay.
think it was 1.5, closed at 2.5. I wonder if it went up after they had to change the location of the game to where Cardinals play in Arizona, Glendale.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I
Last I
thought that
looked,
was
it
gonna
was a
make a
pick
little
'em.
bit of a difference, but well, I mean, still a lot of game left. We'll see there.
Yep, a lot of game.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and preview this
Which
big
game?
marquee matchup here. We got the Bills and the Ravens. This game has been all over the place in terms of the market already and the spread. I think Buffalo opened as a favorite, and
So I'm gonna pull something up while you're
yeah,
talking too, because I think I want to say I seen a line that's a little different too. That like depending on which book you're looking at, this
let's
line is all over the
Google.
place here.
So I want to say it opened at 1.5 Buffalo, and then I grabbed it at a pick'em Buffalo, and now starting to move in Buffalo's favor. So
Okay, so I have what you're showing on the screen. Baltimore -1, Buffalo getting a point at home as well on my
yep,
book. So
yeah. So what do you think of this game, John? I'll let you start her off.
so and it's hard not to sound biased here as I have a Bills logo hanging over my head, a shirt on, a coffee mug. But if you knew me personally, you would know I tend to be pessimistic with this team, right? I should just say realistic.
Yeah,
And I don't know, man. I got a funny feeling here. And as we were talking about teasers last week, I think from a betting perspective, if you're already looking at +1 with Buffalo, I would say it's a good play to get them at +8 at home because
A 7-point teaser.
Yeah, or a 6-pointer, so you get them at 7. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
People do 7-point teasers too.
So going back to what I said about Matt Milano, not that one player's tipping the scale for the whole entire game, but with this Baltimore team, you need speed at that second layer with these linebackers, and we have Bernard. And to his credit, Dorian is an animal in his own right, but last game Matt Milano looked like a man possessed out there, and with Sean McDermott's defense seeing a lot of zone coverage, I think that's what we're going to need is a player like that to shoot the gap as fast as he did. And I don't know, man. I like Buffalo. I'm just going to say it. I'm picking Buffalo this game, which I didn't think I would, but I like Buffalo at home here. And last time I seen them play Baltimore in the playoffs was in Buffalo, and we all know what happened there. We sat back in zone coverage, didn't disguise anything, and Lamar looked like he was trying to solve a Rubik's cube against that defense. So we'll see what happens. He's improved this time too, this time around. So, but I'm going Buffalo myself.
Okay.
Money line at this point, why obviously you got to go with the money there, right? Plus money if it's at a essentially almost a pick 'em.
Yeah, you're at a short dog. Take the money line all day. Take the
Have to.
plus 110 or whatever.
If you're one of those people who like to lock in early too, like you said, because it could shift.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I grabbed it at a pick, but I also like Buffalo in this game. One thing that I heard people talk about a lot, they've been talking about Baltimore, they're kind of getting it together recently. They're cranking it up. It's becoming more and more apparent how much of a juggernaut they are. I mean, if we're looking at, we got week 18, they cover the number though. They blow out the teams they're supposed to, right? Which is, all they can do is play the teams in front of them. But their last game, they played the Browns, mopped them up. They played the Texans, who I believe had nothing to play for even at Christmas time. Then that was that Steelers game. That was a tough game. Then they played the Giants. Okay. Beat them handedly, 3 touchdowns. Then they played their last tough game. They had a bye week 14. They had a late bye too. So that does help. That's something to look at too. When did Buffalo have their bye?
I can't even remember at this point, to be honest. I know we won coming out of our bye. Before I forget, the first time we did meet, that game was really close when we ran that trick play, and then it got out of hand. And
two different teams now. That was week 4.
On the defensive side, we were missing Bernard, Milano, and Taron Johnson, who are all pivotal, crucial pieces to our defense too. So we're healthy on that front going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, they just got to be able to stop the run. You know what Baltimore's doing.
Yeah, which is
there are two teams that tend to control the possession a lot. Maybe what was the total on this game?
I got it at 51 and a half.
What'd you have it at?
51 and a half. That's what you said,
51 and a half.
Yep.
I kind of like the under too. Like the under. It's two teams that are going to just pound the rock, I'm thinking.
It's tough because I'm not saying this could happen, but when you have the Bills are so tough with over under too, because Josh that offense could just open it up out of nowhere.
Right.
And that
things tighten up in the playoffs. You know what I mean? There's less like chances taken, especially with these two caliber teams. Like these two teams are,
Let me ask you this:
contenders.
like, to what extent does someone who's not a Bills fan or have a dog in this race think that Baltimore is going to contain that Josh Allen and that Buffalo offense too?
Well, I wouldn't be too confident because the back end of Baltimore's defense is not great, and I wouldn't be confident that the the Ravens are going to slow down Buffalo. I mean, but Buffalo, I mean, just James Cook, man. I mean, the guy just smells the end zone. Like, they'd be doing themselves a disservice not giving them the ball a lot. So, I mean, it's just going to open up stuff in the air, too, to Shakir and, you know.
I mean, last week we had multiple Curtis Samuel sightings, which his name hasn't been brought up since we signed him, basically, and he was playing phenomenal. So Josh will spread it around, man.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. People will be coming out of the woodworks. It's that Broncos secondary when they were up big. But
so that kind of scares me from the standpoint of, I think, like games we were locked in together with last week didn't do too well, but we'll see what happens there with this one.
Yeah, this is gonna be a tough one. I mean, I got whoever wins this game's going to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
This is they're going there, whoever wins. That's one of mine. But we're both on Buffalo here. Any last words on did you see I just remember this with Allen's hand. Oh, did you see he fucked up his thumb a little bit?
Yeah.
His like thumbnail got like bent back or something or bloodied up, and he just kind of shook it off. No big deal. I was like, oh God, you see that on Justin Herbert? They won't let it go. No, I won't let go of the Justin Herbert shit. But I did see one more thing to rub it in with Justin Herbert. Bo Nix like fractured 2 vertebrae in his lower back on like November 24th. And they just now put it out that happened. I knew something happened to his back because he had a heating pad on it that whole game, but yet no one brought it up. Sean Payton's not a guy either that, you know, likes to he tells the media, like, as soon as he got to Denver his first year, he was like, guys, there's never going to be a conversation we're having about injuries in our players, so just don't ask me.
Sure.
So that, you know, he's one of those guys like Belichick doesn't likes to mask everything, but yeah, man. This guy's certain guys are cut from a different cloth. That's why I think Josh Allen is gonna bring it home, man.
Money line at this point too is what we're saying, right? I don't know about you, but
I like money line.
You have to right now.
If you're getting plus money there, take money line.
Yep.
All right. So there's the big game there. Let's talk about this one. This one's probably the most intriguing matchup to me that's determined so far. Yeah, Kansas City or Houston at Kansas City. Kansas City's 8-point favorite here. What are you thinking on this, John?
So I'm going to play what I think is the contrarian here and tap into that side of my betting, and I'm going to go with Kansas City. I think a lot of people are going to look at their season-long struggles and how they had a lot of close games, and what scares me is the fact that this team, right at the end of the year, has shown that they have the capability to just turn it on, like right when they need to. You saw Travis Kelce start turning it up, and they're a machine, man. Like, they're a bona fide dynasty at this point. You got the best quarterback in the game. I don't know what the weather conditions are, but Kansas City, it gets pretty brutal there this time of year at Arrowhead.
That's a good point.
So I'm on the Chiefs. I would say if you could tease that number down, if you like another game, even better. Tease the Chiefs down versus tease the Texans up, in my opinion, because if by some chance they don't cover the 8, it's going to be a close margin. I don't see them losing, in my opinion, but yeah, I'm Chiefs, and this is kind of like battered spouse syndrome here with Mahomes and the Chiefs and the Bills, but I'm just conditioned to picking them until I see otherwise, man. They're a machine.
Yeah, KC's well rested. This game, I've been really back and forth on it. Thing that scares me about Houston, they look just as good as they did in the first round last year, and then they came in game 2 and didn't look very good. and I think this is going to be a similar case. I think Kansas City's defense, well rested. I think they're gonna lock down Houston. I think, especially through the air. Houston. If Houston's smart, they're going to try to keep the game close, try to run the ball a lot, play the keep away game. Their defense is going to have to make some plays, which they very may do. Sometimes we get caught up. I mean, I'm definitely guilty of it, of just like, you're square, you're a lame. If you play the big number, you lay the points. Like, I mean, sometimes just like that's the sharp play. That's everyone's sentiment seems to be like, Kansas City can't cover big numbers anymore. That they might cover it defensively here. Like, there might be a big play they happens on defense with Stroud, turn it over maybe, or so. They tend to make plays even in special teams. So that could be the difference in this game too. So, but
I think a big factor in this too is like turn the clock back a couple years to when they traded for Kadarius Toney, and whatever happened to him afterwards is besides the point, but he played a pivotal role in the playoffs that year and in the Super Bowl. They got Hollywood Brown, who is healthy and ready to go. That's just another weapon at Mahomes' disposal too, that the rest of the league hasn't had time to game plan for based on film. So that's going to be lethal this time of year too. I expect big plays out of him as early as this game, and if not here, then next in the Super Bowl. We'll see.
Yeah, Pacheco's getting healthier and healthier too. They're not getting Rice back, are they?
No, he's done for the year.
But I mean, they got D-Hop. They got D-Hop. They got Worthy, who's the speedster.
Weapons at their disposal there. So the back line for this one's interesting too. They got it at 41.5.
Oh yeah, I could see it. I could see it being that low of a scoring game. But the -8, a total that low, you always got to lean towards the points. So that it's tough.
I say stay away from the back line, in my opinion.
Yeah, that could be pretty volatile in this kind of game. I mean, it could get blown open by a scoop and score. I could see just something nasty like that happening in this game. Some scoops and scores, a block kick, punt return, something Kansas City that is going to do, derivatively, that's going to put them up to cover this number. That's one of my predictions. Something's going to happen in this game that's going to put them ahead to where they're able to kind of put their foot on the neck.
Well, they'll make it just ugly enough to keep people from wanting to play them the next week too. I mean, it's like the narrative that just never dies with this team.
Yeah, there'll be a tinge of something where you're just like, but they got that call that was bullshit or something. Something like that's gonna happen.
Yep.
So okay, we're both on Kansas City there. Once again, scary.
Yep.
All right, let's look at this one. We got Washington at Detroit. Big number here. I got it at 9 for now. You seeing any movement in the market here? That I see 9.5 now, Detroit, which is
let me see here. I think I got the half point too. Let me double check.
This game's tough on me. Something about Washington as an underdog, they tend to thrive a little more, I feel like.
Yeah. So I got it at 9.5. The over is 55 as well. So no movement on my end.
I'm just looking at their schedule throughout the year.
What I'll say is this. I mean, this game, in my opinion, has no bearing on what Washington's done thus far as a team. Like, they've far exceeded any expectations. I think I can't remember if we talked about it or I did with someone else. Their over-under for win total before the season started was 5 or 5.5. And here they are in the second round of the playoffs here. Um, I gotta the line's what's tricky here, right? Because you expect them to maybe keep it close. This is one where I would prefer to tease Detroit down. Um, if I had to, I hate to sound like a sucker here. I'm gonna take Detroit here though. If I have to take the line as is,
You like them teased, or you like it? You like the 9?
I like them teased for sure. If I have to take the line as is, I think I'm gonna take Detroit laying the 9, which I got it at 9.5. So I guess that's man, that's tough.
Yeah, I like the hook.
Man, I,
This is one of those games. Like I texted you, like I made the mistake of every game we picked last podcast. I pretty much bet, and that didn't go well.
sure.
And so this is one of those games I might pick on here, but I won't bet. And man, I think I'm going to take the points here, the 9.5, Washington. I mean, we're looking at a team earlier. We talked about Steelers lost 6 games in a row going into their game. Washington's won 6 games in a row. So I mean,
Yeah,
they're just hot and just
and they're
steady
going
as
in
she
there with
goes. Jaden Daniels, man. I mean, I think he could do enough possibly. I just if they go down like 14-0 in this game, I just wonder if Jaden Daniels is going to have the same kind of games he's been having when they take the run out of it. You know what I mean?
which truthfully, that's how I see this game opening up. Honestly, is them going down early, so it will be interesting to see how they respond. I uh, I hope they go in there with nothing to lose, and I think they're gonna. Honestly, I mean, try and open it up early, be creative, because at this point, you have nothing to lose. You're the dog going in there. They're they're already that much better after winning this week. They have more confidence, but I I don't look at Detroit as this invincible juggernaut to the extent as some other people do,
Same.
maybe, but just in a game of matchups, I favor them at home. Campbell's gonna have this team coming out ready to play from the opening whistle. I think they're gonna punch him in the mouth early, and I if I had to guess, I don't think Washington's gonna be able to respond. So more I think of it, I like Detroit laying the points. I'll go with the
Yeah.
square pick there. And
I'm
if you
not
could
mad
tease
at
them
you.
down, do it.
I like him at the 9, but the hook, I like the 9.5. I
Yeah.
like the 9.5. Yeah, there's
Buy some
something with
points if you could too.
there's something too with Washington that goes on that goes for it on every fourth down. Like
Yeah.
Campbell's gonna see that, and you're like, oh, these motherfuckers think they go for it on fourth down. And let me show them a little something. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing though. Like,
That's true because he doesn't give a damn. Like he's a
right. He
psychopath.
he
So
might he might hard ass his way to a loss. You know,
man,
they might do something that's just silly in the moment because he's just wanting to be ultra aggressive.
I think Washington's outmanned here in almost every aspect of the game too. From a depth chart standpoint, as battered and beat up as Detroit is, I think they are outmanned there to an extent too. So
Yeah, I mean Detroit matches up. I mean, let me look here. Let me look at these lineups here because I like looking at these with the PFF grades. So just looking at like offensively, Detroit smokes Washington in these grades. Like the O line's dominant. You know, man. I mean, Lattimore's playing, but he's banged up. He's gonna be on St. Brown, and then just like I don't know who the hell else they have. They have some decent safeties with Chin and Martin, but
let's go back to the live betting aspect too, right? If by
there's a good. This is a perfect live betting game.
so if you can remember to hop on there and just scan it, and at some point that Detroit number starts to drop a little, that might be a good one to snag early on too.
It's a very good point. This game right here is easily one of those live bet opportunity games.
Say Washington gets the ball first and pulls a Denver and, punches them in the
Right.
mouth quick and they go right down and score. That'd be a nice one to snag
That'd be
right
the
there.
best scenario to play.
Yeah.
Definitely Detroit.
So stay
Yeah,
sharp
or
there
if
with
it's a
that.
14-0 scenario like we were talking about, you might get a massive number
Sure.
with Washington if you like that side. So yeah, dude, man, looking at these grades, even the depleted defense of the Lions, they grade out a lot better here.
Yeah.
You can see these grades.
Hey, and Glenn's still auditioning for a head coaching position too, so this will
Yeah.
just help his case out even more.
There was a weird thing I heard about the Broncos, Vance Joseph, their D coordinator. If he leaves for a head coaching job, Denver gets like two comp picks, like third round picks, 2 of them. I'm like, all right, go somewhere. Let this guy get a job somewhere.
Sure. He's got to have someone who's been under his wing while he's been there too, so.
Right. But yeah, I'm trying to get some picks there, but yeah, back to the game. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good point, John. The live betting opportunity here, this one stands out.
Yeah, stay sharp with that.
Yeah. Pay attention to that. So we have this potential matchup here. Let's check the score right now while we're at it.
Minnesota's punting back to the Rams, 10-3. LA still. We got a second half to play basically.
Okay. So 10-3, still within a score here. Yep. They're punting.
So Philly against either or, which my pick was the Rams. So I'm gonna go based off that matchup right now, and that could be the best matchup of the week right there. Maybe outside of Buffalo and Baltimore if that pans out how it should. I really like this matchup though.
It's definitely got the biggest possibility of an upset.
Yeah, that it's the only. So who Philly hosts whoever comes in, correct?
Right.
So that's tough. That plays a factor.
Wait, do they host Minnesota?
Yeah, because Minnesota's a lower higher.
They must be the 3 seed then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Philly's home. What would you guess the line would open at if it is the Rams?
That's a good question. Rams at Philly.
I say 3.5.
That was my first instinct, 3.5. But I don't know. The way these playoff games have been fucking handicapped, like I could see it being a bigger number. I could see him playing the 5.5, 6 game maybe, or maybe 4.5 even. But yeah, for some reason, 3.5 seems like the right number. Pretty equal on neutral, maybe slight edge to Philly, but I could see them putting it at like 6, especially if they barely win or something.
From the perspective of behind my barber chair, like I said, for the past handful of weeks, what I've been saying on the NFC side is Philly to go with a dark horse pick of LA, and this was before the seating was all worked out here. So these are me personally, these are my top 2 teams in the NFC.
Okay.
I'll say if they're to match up with LA, I'll say Philly at home can grind this one out, but that's an interesting matchup. I mean, and this is probably Stafford's last hurrah, right? So he's going out on a stretcher if he has to, that dude.
That's what I was going to ask you too. I was thinking about it. I mean, just even in this game tonight, like,
and we're assuming they win, by the way. We might have just put the mush on LA here, and we might be looking at Philly and Minnesota.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm wondering tonight. Like, if Stafford's going to have enough physically to hold up, they're just for one last run, because this has got to be it for Staff. I mean, The guy, I mean, he did play relatively well this year.
Yeah, and he's coming on at the right time, and I think what's
Talking
scary
about teams
about
getting hot. Rams are
yeah,
hot.
they're balanced too. I mean, Kyron Williams in the backfield, and then just Puka and Cooper Cup on the outside is just so lethal, and I feel like they fit his skill set at this age too. Both of those receivers. Um, and then from a defensive standpoint, that defensive front is fierce. They're just a matchup nightmare for anyone. That's why it's to me this could be the best matchup of the week. Honestly,
Yeah.
I would imagine the line would be low for that game too. The back line.
A little more balanced. Oh, yeah, the total's gotta be a little more balanced. I'm
What we see,
saying if Philly and Minnesota matchup, I'm taking Philly at any number.
me
If
too.
Philly and the Rams matchup, I'm taking that Rams if it's anywhere in that 5 to 6 range. But if it's
Okay.
probably if the expectations are what we think it is, the 3.5 or so, I'm probably going Philly even with
So
that.
what seems to be the play here too is like this. So the NFL is doing what it should be doing at this point, which is getting more competitive and seemingly a little harder to pick. This will be the week to mix in a teaser or two and get some of these lines down or up a little to where you want them, and maybe even throw in a little cheap three team 10 pointer, right? I mean, why not with some of these lines being as close as they are?
Shit, dude, I can't even do 10 points in my book.
No.
The most I could do 7. I have a
Man,
sports book that they don't expose themselves.
I
They
think
put out the numbers at like 10 o'clock. Like,
I mean the juice is different, but I want to say I have access to one that'll you could get up to like 12 or 13 still, which
Jesus.
yeah,
Yeah, juice has got to be crazy. I don't even like playing that big of a.
no.
I always like doing like 6.5 at worst, but 6 always just. I heard the great Steve Fezzik say, never bet a teaser over 6. So I was like, all right. I didn't like doing it anyway. He said it, so I'm down.
Yep.
But I mean, I think if Philly's a 6-point favorite against the Rams, I would tease it down. But if they're a 6-point favorite versus the Vikings, I'd just stick with Philly with the regular spread for sure. So out of all these plays, John, what's your best bet? What's your top play out of all of these?
Man, it's tough because the games I feel the most confident about are the ones where the line is stretched the furthest with Kansas City and Detroit here. So that being said, I'm going to take the homer approach here, and I'm going to say if you're watching this show while Buffalo is still money line, or I'm sorry, while Buffalo is still getting a point, take them money line, which I don't know if you have an option. The book I'm looking at doesn't even have an option for money line, which would be something.
Maybe later in the week they'll have something.
So that's plus money right there. I say I that's an underdog pick at the moment, and I would say that's my pick of the week. Outside of that, yeah, I feel great about Kansas City and Detroit. I mean, they're sucker picks, but I do like them. Uh, if you, I would. There's two where I don't know what you could group them at if you played a money line together. That's a nice little parlay there to lower the juice too. But I'll go my top play of the week. I'll go Homer with Buffalo to answer that in a roundabout way.
I think I'm right here with you, man. I mean, I just witnessed it myself with the Buffalo Bills, man. I got to take them, especially if you're getting points. Take the money line. But
Yep,
yeah, I got them at Pick'em, and I like the Bills as my best bet. Yeah, just
scary stuff.
tapping back into what we said. I just think Allen's mature. He's going to do enough to win this game. They have a running game. I mean, you look at John Elway. He never won a Super Bowl without the coach in the running game.
0-3 before he
Yeah,
won the two at the end.
Yeah, you put a Hall of Famer in the backfield, all of a sudden he wins 2 back-to-back. Yeah, and it makes a difference, man, being two-dimensional and being able to keep guys guessing.
And all that being said, I mean, does the NFL not get exactly what they want with this heated MVP debate and race here facing off in the divisional
That's a
round?
good
I
point.
mean, it's good. It should be electric. I mean, a part of me is debating if I want to maybe line up to get there last minute, because
So
it's going to
you think
be.
this could determine the MVP race, this game?
It's not supposed to, right? But votes are supposed to be in from the regular season. Am I wrong or right with that?
But it's already done. You can't vote anymore, whoever's voting.
That's true. I don't know when they do the voting, but they're supposed to not take any of this into consideration, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, probably. I guess it probably will be the tipping point for some people, even if it's not what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, man. If this game isn't the game I like the most, then it's probably whoever Philly's playing the father after this game, whichever determines that. Which I'm gonna look at. Let's see. Sam Darnold's 8 for 10. Oh, he threw a pick already, and he's been sacked 3 times.
Yeah, and right before you asked me what my lock of the week was, and or pick of the week, whatever, and we were talking about Stafford a little, I seen him scrambling around in the backfield and making a play too. So he's definitely still got some left in the tank here.
Stafford, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's looking good numbers wise so far. He's done a 27-yarder already. Yeah, that they got healthy, dude. They
Yeah.
got healthy when they needed it. No doubt about it. So, man, any closing words here? Anything else we haven't touched on?
So I will say this, not to take up all the time talking about my own favorite team here, but something to keep an eye on too is we're talking about some of these coaches who could be moving on. In terms of the Bills game, if this game does come down to crunch time, last 2 minutes, and McDermott is obviously at the helm for Buffalo, and he fumbles the bag here like he does consistently over and over again, do we see him on the hot seat or see him get the axe if that's how we exit? Because outside of Josh's, first trip to the playoffs, it usually hasn't been him as to why we get eliminated and go home. It's a lot of times coaching plays a factor. And I don't say that from a standpoint of me wanting him out. It's just stating what's there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if this does come down to crunch time in a close game with him.
Yeah. Talking about coaching changes, we had McCarthy today, I believe, was just let go of.
Yep.
Vrabel's in New England. He's their new coach.
Good move.
Where else is there a vacancy right now? Chicago, Jacksonville.
Does Arizona have one again?
No. Arizona had a
No.
good year. That Gannon did a pretty good job this year.
Oh, the Raiders.
Yeah, he's gone. Antonio Pierce is gone.
Yeah.
Who would you want to be the Bills coach if they let go of McDermott? Brady?
I mean, I don't want to have to think about that. But
Right.
we'll
Say the
see.
worst happens that he fumbles the bag big time.
Like I said last week, he has shown the capability and the growth in the area of making in-game and halftime adjustments. So with him doing that, last year, maybe this year is where he takes the next step and he shows the capability to coach a close game within 2 minutes and make the right decisions. But we've seen it a few times now, so who knows? It's not that I want him out. I'm a fan. I mean, he changed the culture. This thing is in motion because of him, but Josh bails this staff out a lot as a whole, so we'll see what happens.
Well, my man, let's see if I can close some ground on you. With 1-4 in our picks first week. You went 3-2. let's have another good week, and we'll see if this game adjusts those standings at all either.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
So, all right, John, I won't hold you any further tonight. Thanks again for making the time, my man.
Yeah.
And we'll
Appreciate
see how
you
these
having me
games
on, man.
play out, and we'll hop back on here next week.
Go Bills.
All right, man. Go Bills, and have a good week of work.
You too, man. Take it easy.
Stay in touch, my man. Take it
All
easy.
right.